All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. We're talking databases, and in our first lecture, we talked about some basic database terminology. I also went out and looked on Wikipedia for a couple things. Okay, I'm going to go on from there though. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to a place that's called ApacheFriends.org. All right? And if I did that too fast or whatever, this is what it pushes you off to. I want to put this out there so that everybody can see it. Again, just putting in ApacheFriends.org should suffice, but that gets you to right here. www.apachefriends.org/index.html. Now it says here some of the stuff that you get. So you get Apache, all right, you get MariaDB, you get PHP, and you get Perl. Okay? Now, if we look here as far as what it supports, it's a nonprofit organization. Get some information on the people who are involved in it. But I want to check something out here. All right. It says here under Xampp that you get MariaDB. Well, I was always told you got MySQL, but if it says here, MariaDB is a community-developed branch of the MySQL database. All right. Now, MySQL is a relational database management system. It is free unless you want to pay for support of it. It is owned by Oracle. Oracle has become quite a software giant. It already was, because Oracle is another relational database management system. But years ago, Oracle bought out the Java programming language from Sun Microsystems, and now it also holds or is in charge of, owns MySQL. All right. So what I want to do is I want to go back to my Xampp here, and I want to go to download. And what is the difference between these? Well, this is the latest and greatest, 7.1, and we're not going to do any work in here with PHP. That's something for another time and place. Yes, I know PHP, all right? But this is more classic Xampp. This is newer because it's supporting PHP 7, and this is even newer. So I'm just going to grab the newest one. So I'm going to download the 32-bit here for Windows. There are links here for Linux and for Mac as well, or Apple. So I'm going to create this. There's my download. At 120 meg, it'll go pretty fast. There are a lot of things that you can download with Xampp, which is again under ApacheFriends.org. We're not going to use each and every one of those, but to keep it easy, we will download everything. But again, there are things in there that we really and truly don't need to have. If you want some more information, you can go back to the home page. Okay, and you can get the download from there. But if you want some more information on what it is all about, in fact, I can even do this. So I can go back to Wikipedia, and I can put in here Xampp. A free and open source cross-platform web server solution stack developed by Apache friends. Stands for cross-platform, that's the X, A for Apache, M for MariaDB, P for PHP, and P for Perl. So if you want more on it, you can go take a look at that. All right, I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, so I've got everything it looks like, so I'm going to right mouse click on here, and I'm going to open this. And it says, do you want to allow this to make changes to your device? Yes, I do. It looks like there's a video here if you want to learn more about what Xampp is all about. But I'm going to come out here, and I'm going to go out to my downloads folder. And there's the Xampp installer, so notice 123 meg. I'm going to double click it. And again, do I want to make changes? Yes, I thought it was already started, but I guess it is. It says, because an activated account on your system, some functions of Xampp might be restricted. All right, I'm just going to say OK. And it comes up with this Bitnami stuff. You really don't need to worry about that, but just click Next. All right, I don't need everything that's in here. Really, since the only thing that we're going to be doing is MySQL, I don't even need the programming languages. I'm going to keep them in there in case we do get to take a quick look at some PHP. But I do want PHP MyAdmin. I do want this. You'll see why in a little bit. All right, so I'm just going to keep everything, even though the main things I'm going to need are MySQL and PHP MyAdmin. So next, this is an important concept here. Keep the default setting, which is C:\\Xampp. It's much easier when to let Xampp set up right underneath your hard drive. The selected folder is not empty. Please select a different folder. Okay, so let's look and see if I already have that on here. I didn't think I did. I already do have an Xampp folder. But I'll tell you what, you know what I'm going to do? Is I'm just going to get rid of it. I wonder if there's an uninstall in here. There's uninstall.exe. Do you want to uninstall Xampp? Yes. Remove the htdocs folder too? Yes. Don't worry about that right now, especially if you've just started. That's not going to affect you at all. htdocs is if you work with a PHP programming language, that's where you will place your PHP files and folders. So it's uninstalling, so all of this stuff that you see here should be gone in just a matter of minutes. Looks like it's going to take a little bit to do this. So rather than waste your time, and we're already up to 9 minutes here, I'm going to pause the video, and when it gets done with the uninstall, I'll pick it back up then. All right, that took about 5 minutes to do the uninstall. So now if I go over here and look on my C drive, there is no Xampp folder, as you can tell. All right, so when I come back to here, now I want to tell it to install Xampp. Click Next. Click Next again. And again, the process is a fairly quick one, so you know that. Setup is now ready to begin installing Xampp on your computer. Next. It's going to unpack the files, so it's going to basically go back and recreate the Xampp folder. I'm going to leave this run rather than pausing, because you're going to see how fast it actually does. So when you do the install, again, it'll always be predicated on what you have on your own C drive. So it could be slow, but especially if you've got a new machine, it should or a newer machine without a lot of stuff on it, it should be a pretty fast install. Very rarely, when you do this, the install may fail for whatever reason. And if that happens, just try to install it again. I've seen that happen, not too many times, but I have seen it happen before. This is slow. I'm doing this at Rankin Technical College over their network. And I do want to mention too that what I said before. When you see this, before I finish up after this does the install, I'm going to show you what it looks like when it starts. Talk to you a little bit about starting it as a service as opposed to not starting it as a service. And we'll just take a very quick look at it. But what we're going to be able to do once we have Xampp installed is we're going to be able to use our own computer as both a client and a server. So it builds kind of a pseudo server in here that we're going to be able to use. All right. I should mention also that not just Xampp, but there's a product called Xampp, which I believe is just for the Mac. All right. There's another one that's called Xampp, and that's more Windows based. And there are other ones also. Okay. I'm not going to go into any of those. And people, in the past have asked me, well, Jeff, I get this, but why do you use Xampp as opposed to Xampp or something else? And I should mention, too, that some books, instead of calling this Xampp, which is what I call it, they call it Xampp. The X is pronounced like a Z, like in xylophone. But sometimes you see that, sometimes you don't, and really it's not very important one way or the other. But the main reason that I use Xampp is that I always have, probably for 10 years plus, at least 10 years, and I've never really had problems with it. All right, so why not stick with something that works? You can see the install is going. Again, I've been going about 3 to 5 minutes at the most. It's just about finished with the install. As it says, it's an easy install, and it was. I'm not going to worry about the Bitnami stuff. If you want, you could take a look at this. All right, I'm not going to go into any of that. But notice it's an easy way to install Apache distribution containing MySQL, PHP, and Perl. Now it may ask me here, do you want to start the control panel now? I recommend you say yes. All right, choose your native language, and that's what it looks like. Okay, now, first thing I'd recommend, and you do not have to do this, it's not going to make your program work any better or anything, all right? But now, if I click on my Windows Start button, there's Xampp, and there's Bitnami for Xampp and the Xampp control panel. I recommend that you drag this out, all right, and you right mouse click on it, however you do this, and pin it to your start menu. All right, so there it is. Do you have to do that? Of course not. And once we get going, two things, and then we're going to stop this lecture. The first is I'd start Apache. Now you may have a problem on here because it's going to try to use port 80. And if you're already using port 80 for something else, you may end up running into a problem. If it turns green like this, that means it worked. And I'm going to start MySQL, and you'll see the same thing. I don't care about FileZilla or Mercury or Tomcat, so these are all I'll need. If you want to run this as a service, meaning that you will have Xampp start as soon as you start up Windows, you can check those buttons. I just don't do that. If I want to stop any of these at any time, I just click stop, and it stops. Click start again to restart them. All right. Now we're going to do, in the next lecture, we're actually going to jump in and look at a database. We're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to click shell here, and we're actually going to open this up and type in MySQL -u root. And that's going to bring us to MySQL, or what they say, MariaDB. All right, so I will pick it up there in the next lecture. I'll see you then.